Hey, we're back one more week of the mob, the mafia, and the man. Here are the guys, and we got a real good show for you today. So remember, did we change our lives? Well, I did. Yes, I did. And we're going to talk about killers today. So I'm really excited about this show. We're going to talk about serial killers, people that kill their family, people go on a robbery, kill somebody, police officers that have been killed, cops that go on a job that have to kill, servicemen, Vietnam, wherever else, Iraq, Afghanistan, somebody that needed to, or had to take the life on the orders of operations or wars. So I'm real excited about that today. Hit the subscribe button. Send us comments and questions on anything you need. Check out John Alite website. And here the guy says, Mike Dowd, everybody knows, is always there. Here's his new baseball bat that we get if he interrupts me today, for everybody that writes that. And no more water pistol. I gave up the guns again.
Autographed.
Autographed?
Autographed. We'll get it autographed for him.
Okay, we'll have it autographed. Kevin Donaldson and our special guest, the work narcotics, Jimmy Quinlan. Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon.
What's going on, guys? So we're going to talk about killers. So we're going to defer to your expertise on this one, John.
All right.
But there's all different types of killers, right? There's contract killers. There's police shootings. There's vets that go away. There's people who kill their entire family. My son and I were just watching a documentary about something in your neck of the woods, the DeFeo murders in Amityville. All right.
Yeah,
that's
quite the case.
That was quite the case.
Amityville horror.
So we'll you want to jump into that one first, because we're all looking for reasons why people kill, right?
Well, to jump right in, one of the biggest cases that you get out there is people that are protecting their family. Somebody comes in to rob their family, hurt their kids, and people that are everyday people living everyday lives become an instant killer. They bring in that mode that they didn't think they had in them to protect their loved ones, and it's a normal quality for somebody to protect their family. And it's the same thing as people that go to Afghanistan or go to wars and they're alongside their brothers, guys like Brian Basho or J.D., or any of these guys, Uncle Steve, or the friends of mine that were big war heroes. These guys know how to press that button when they need to. It's an automatic thing. So when you got guys that are facing a life or death situation, they take that fear and adrenaline and they use it in a positive way. They don't use it in a panicking way. Now, when you're talking about some of these young kids, they're gangbanging and whatever they're doing, people think they go into a store and they rob a gas station or a supermarket and they are out there and they just blow a guy's head off. You guys understand this. Weapons are finger-triggered, hair-triggered triggers on them. So if they put a little pressure on it without even realizing, because of nerves, they're sweating, they're anxious, they press and they blow somebody's head off by accident.
You're looking at sympathetic triggers. So the three of us, we all know what sympathetic trigger is. So they say you never put your finger on, and this is what cop movies aggravate the hell out of me, because you'll see a cop pull their gun out in the movies and finger goes right on the trigger. Well, the problem with that is what sympathetic trigger is if my finger's on the trigger and let's say I have an itch behind my ear and I itch like that, well, this finger automatically is going to go and bang. And all of a sudden they always tell you to be surprised by the bang, but now you're really surprised by the bang. So it's always finger down the slide. That's a professional. Military will do it. Police will do it.
Yeah, I always put my finger right on the trigger.
Yeah, you know what? In the old days, when we first got in the job, Michael will tell you we had 6 shots.
Right.
Those guns were double action.
Right.
So it took, I think, 2 pounds of pressure. So another one.
It was 16 pounds of pressure. 2 pounds of pressure on if you pull back the hammer.
The hammer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had to get that gun to go off, you had to put 16 pounds of pressure that cocks the gun, and then when it gets to the furthest point, it lets it go. Right. So it's not done accidentally. You definitely have to know what you're doing. It's not enough. Well, these days with these semi-automatic weapons or even automatic weapons, they're a lot easier to fire or misfire, even because people are just there so easily.
Yeah, they're easily discharged.
They're so sensitive, right? That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah.
So big difference.
Well, you got these young kids that that'll go with a machine gun, whatever it is, if it's a 9mm or a Uzi, and they spray with no accuracy, and they don't realize, not even if they're good with a gun, but there's no accuracy, and they're randomly hitting other people that are in the area, and people say, well, how stupid are. Well, they're young guys. They don't know any better. They don't realize that they can't control that. Only in the movies you see them, with a side shot or they'll hold in one hand to control a machine gun. Doesn't happen. You know, they won't. Yeah, they
It's
won't be able to do
impossible
it.
to aim when you hold a gun like this.
Listen, when Interpol chased me, I was on a train in Paris with my wife, and they
Oh, that must have been like Melody Express.
yeah, and they
Oh, were you in that movie too?
no, but I'm trying to get in that movie.
Oh, okay. He's going to make one.
Oh, this is the first hit?
First hit's coming. So I was on the train.
But I will bet you if you hit him in the back of the head, the limited edition Elite sunglasses will not fall off his head.
Or break.
This
What's
is we call this the Dowd Bam Bam Bat. So when he came on, the lead Interpol chief of that, I guess, that group that came after me, he was sweating up a storm. He was shaking like crazy, and he put the gun to the back of my head.
Oh, so stupid.
And I looked at him and I said, "Relax, you're going to shoot me in the head by accident." And he was shaking. He says, "Put your fucking hands up." And I looked at him. I says, "Relax. Stop putting that gun on my head. You're going to shoot me." And we're going back and forth. And my wife had her hands up, and I'm like, "Put your hands down." And he's telling her to put it up, but he was sweating up a storm. And then actually one of his own guys told him, "Get your hand off the trigger." You know,
Oh, no kidding.
And then he relaxed, and I said, "How about this? I'll put him on the seat in front of me."
But
and
that's
then,
he could have been
So
an accidental killer.
Yeah, he was in that scene. I don't think he realized I was calm. He wasn't calm. And, you know, this is before I got caught in Brazil by Interpol, but they jumped the arrest warrant on me, I guess, on those trains coming from, I was in Paris going to Amsterdam on the way back, and they pulled the train over, and they came after me. So, you know.
Pull the train over.
Pull a train over. They do that with sirens.
Stagecoach. No, it was stagecoach on the side with fucking horses and shit.
But this is somebody, I don't know if he was that experienced. I'm really not sure what his experience level to be the way he was conducting himself.
Well, from a police perspective, you never put the muzzle of your gun next to it because it's easy to take away at that point. I mean, you could take one movement, and they teach you this in the academy. Somebody puts a gun to your chest, you do this, and if the gun goes off, maybe you'll get hit in the shoulder, but more than likely you won't. Yeah. You do a quick turn. So, but that's an experience.
Yeah, he had a ton of adrenaline in him, and I guess, you know, obviously fear because of the way he was sweating and whatever. So I don't know how often he's done something like that. There was a couple other guys that were on that train that was with him. It was a couple of women. It was him. A couple other guys. It was probably 8 or 9 of them. But, one of them was real experienced that told him that.
And you got to remember something, John. By the time that he's caught up with you, he's already had 3 months of bolt drilling in his head. This fucking guy's a killer.
He's a killer.
He's a stone cold killer.
He's a killer.
He's desperate. He's got no place to go. He'll kill
He's
you
on the
right
run.
now.
He's
He'll
a
kill you on
killer.
the train. He's a killer. So he said that he's got 20 scalps on his thing there. They don't get, of course he's going to be nervous, real nervous, and as the time comes, he's just getting. Woof.
I told him don't be nervous of me. I did tell him. I said, worry about her. That's the one I'm afraid of. She's beating me up.
She's been taking care of you. Keeping you in line.
John, you told me something long ago that always stuck with me, that we're all just one step away from being a killer. It just depends on the situation that you're put in. All right? You specifically said to me, if somebody would come and try to grab my kids, well, guess what? Somebody can grab my kids, they're going to die. And I'll sit the rest of my life in prison happily with a big smile on my face to kill those people.
Yeah. So you brought the subject of killers and people have been actually in killing situations or how you help with them. So we had a common guest on many of our shows, Charlie Cifarelli. He ran death row for, and he brought a very good point up out in Nebraska. He said, Mike, there's people in there that kill by accident. There's people in there that get scared and kill. There's people who get their house broken into and kill. He said, and there's people who just go out to kill. He said, I don't look at the guy the same way that went to a bank and things went wrong and someone got shot and killed. They're not good. They're not a good person. But, Kevin?
He almost got killed by a guy that is not a killer. It was a passionate, it was over a passion. He lost his mind for that split second, and he almost killed you.
Yeah, so Kevin's a living example of someone that could have been killed by a guy who would have been labeled a killer, but I think you would probably even say today that the guy...
So his name was Anthony Vocatoro, and the bullet missed my ear by 1/8 of an inch. He shot at police several times, but I look at it differently now.
I spoke to that guy.
Yeah, I look at it
I
differently.
didn't know he shot several times.
Well, several times he shot at. So he shot at police during an initial engagement, and then when we were on the back deck, he shot again. He was going to kill. He was so
Distraught.
Yeah, distraught, I guess is the right word. It was a crime of passion. He was going to kill his ex-girlfriend. So we breached the door, and as soon as we breached the door, he was behind a wall, reached out behind the wall and shot. I happened to be standing in the wrong place, and the bullet actually wiggled my ear. But I was so close, I could feel the gunpowder. I could feel everything on it. It was bad.
You
But
feel it, hear it, your ears are ringing, the whole.
no, that was a funny thing. So the adrenaline goes when you get shot at like that. The adrenaline goes and it shuts down your auditory response. It's an amazing thing. It's very calm too, very very calm.
Slow.
Figuring I was going to die. Well, don't call me slow.
No, not you, but this.
So this guy Anthony Vocatoro is a prime example. He's one step away from being a killer and making one of the biggest mistakes of his life, further than what he's already done. And if I saw, and it took me a long time to forgive him because he really put me in a bad place.
He actually, and I told you because I stayed with his cousin, also the same name, Anthony Vocatoro from Freehold, and he's a dentist. And I spoke to his cousin, Anthony, that shot at you.
Yeah.
So, and he's really not a bad guy. And, we had this discussion. He lost his mind. He's not a violent guy. He's a nice guy. He's actually a decent human being overall. And look what happens when you just snap. Something happens to you.
I don't know to this day whether because you faced the person that tried to kill you, I don't know whether I'd punch him in the face or give him a hug. It's probably give him a hug because I realized long ago, because that was a crime of passion, he wasn't shooting at Kevin Donaldson. He was shooting at a cop. He was shooting at somebody trying to have him block him from fulfilling his goal, which was he couldn't take that pain anymore. Yeah. And that's what it was. He was in such pain because they had broken up or whatever it was. We're all
He
just
wanted
sort of
someone to put him out of his misery.
And I always say women will do that to you.
Yeah,
We just had this discussion before the show. We'll get you in more trouble. I'm not trying to be.
He made men's decisions based on their relationships
Yeah.
that are maybe a poor choice.
Jimmy, as a cop, did you ever shoot a gun? Did you ever?
Yes. All my stuff is classified stuff, so I really can't get into some of it. But
Okay. All right.
yeah,
That's
I
fair.
was in narcotics. I spent my entire career as an undercover cop, which I made 1,400 collars. I made 700 buys. I mean, I did a lot of work, saw a lot of stuff. Since I've retired, 14 guys from my office have killed themselves. 14.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Wow.
My partner, Jimmy Karazinski, killed himself. And when I got called at work, there's a guy 6'3", big like Mike, tall, 230, 240, former Marine. Used to make fun of people committing that cowards. And that, he was a real, man's man. The old lady leaves him, and he loses his morals over it. He's now living with his mom in Staten Island. Okay, I'll make this as brief as I can. And they put in. Again, I hadn't seen him in about a year, but I get a call. I was at the time working at FedEx and running security in the city, and they said, it's Jimmy Karazinski. I said, he must have took a pinch, got a fight, whatever.
Right.
The guy he took no crap, took his life.
Wow.
We're up to about 36 in 2022.
Yeah.
Police suicides.
Yeah.
So there's another killer for you. You kill yourself.
Yeah.
How bad's it got to be?
Hopeless.
So the
Feeling
segue,
hopelessness.
my segue to that subject matter, and I'm very touched by that because, narcotics is one of those. I've never been in narcotics, but I like narcotics. I guess. but and we can make light of it. But the reality is, it's a serious subject matter. When these guys, high stress, high energy, high excitement, every day is a blast, one way or the other. And I mean that figuratively and literally. To get these guys, and even Jimmy's got a little, he's an excitable. Look at me. He makes me look calm. Because
I thought that was the cocaine.
yeah, right. The bumps I'm doing. Yeah.
Still wearing off.
Can you imagine having a
Whoever
conversation-
wrote that on my comments,
Can you imagine me having a conversation?
you're holding out on me.
the pink Peruvians. The pink Peruvian. That was the best. But you couldn't. I mean, 11 guys are down from your unit now.
14.
14. I'm sorry. It's
incredible
The
it is.
11. It must be an ad I got on TV. But 14 guys from your unit are gone, and we're not. I mean, we're not old men today. I mean,
There's a problem.
There's a
no.
There's a
There's a
problem.
problem.
So I'm involved with the Blue Magazine. So I'm involved with the Blue. The Blue Magazine
Yes,
very
we do.
well.
Danny,
So we
that
just
was a
shot a
great
movie
guy.
that's
Great man.
that's premiering on Thursday, the 7th of April. It's called. They have a nonprofit called Moment of Silence, which guards against blue suicide. They call it blue suicide. We try to stay away from the word commit suicide because you commit a crime. That's the whole thinking behind it. It's a sad thing, and it's happening way too much. 14 guys, if somebody's not stepping in and saying, "Hey, there's a bigger issue that we got to take care of," that's wrong. That's where the help is needed. And they're getting there. They're not there yet.
Well, just another 14 will go before that.
That's why we got to be more verbal against our politicians that forget to talk about that, and they forget to back the police. And they also forget that every time they have a situation, the first person they call are private police, and they call 911. And yet when things are not going their way politically, they use it as a stepping stone to squash and step on the necks of the officers that are out there doing the right thing and putting their lives up every day. And a lot of their partners and people you guys know took their lives, unfortunately, from a tough job. We know anybody that risks their lives every day. It takes a mental,
there's a big mental, what do you call PTS?
PTS. So PTS. Well, no, we dropped the D because it's a disorder, something you're born with, post-traumatic stress, because it's a brain injury.
Post-traumatic stress, correct.
Did you see that with gangsters in your life?
Yeah, I got post-traumatic stress.
No, I know you got no, not post-traumatic stress. It was suicide. I know. Yeah, I can imagine you have it.
I had several friends that committed suicide, whether incarcerated and hung themselves, which I've spoke about different guys that were friends of mine that did that, couldn't take the consequences of the life, and then there's guys that killed themselves at home. Yeah.
So with you in particular, you took lives where you know, what did it feel like to go out there and be asked to take? You didn't do it out of just fun.
No, you know, it's like anything else. Like you guys go through the academy and a training. So you're going through a training like anybody in the armed forces go through a training, and it's not an anger thing. It's a reaction to a situation.
Like a grooming, John. I would call it a grooming.
It's a grooming. You know, I hate to use words. You know, you do it in a profession. You know, you're professional. You know, you're not just randomly just shooting up a block. You're taking out the person you need to take out because of a situation. And as cold as that may seem, this is what we were trained to do. So you're trained through your life to do that, to use that adrenaline in a positive way in that lifestyle. Unfortunately, when you're finished and you step back, you end up in a situation like I have, where you have to deal with PTS. And you have to deal with it because you got to live with the circumstances that you cause for yourself and people's families on both ends. So, you know, that's another subject. And I've had therapists on shows and we discuss some of this. But the problem with doing it becomes easy. Once you're accustomed to doing that kind of stuff, people, the average person can't do it. They have a hard time with it. And then you have guys like I just said, JD and Brian Bashel, my friends that are war heroes, and these guys, and Uncle Steve, and these guys are.
I'm with that guy on Instagram, Brian Bashel.
Yeah, they're great guys, and they discuss talking about killing themselves, and friends of theirs that kill themselves. So when people are on the outside and they're watching TV, those are movies. When you are actually involved in these shootings, like Jimmy or yourself or Mike, and you're on the streets every day, and your life is at risk every day. People trying to kill me, I've been shot up or stabbed up. And, those things take a toll on you after a while. And the biggest toll is for the haters out there, or the people that talk, is it's easy to do it. It's the hard part is not to do it. And this is what we try to talk about, is not doing what we used to do. React different, behave different.
That's why you changed your life. But you're paying the consequences now. I know you're paying the consequences.
You're always going to pay consequences. And I talk about BetterHelp. One of our sponsors, right?
They're great with the online therapists. Yeah,
and there's a ton of people that need that, to use them, and there's nothing wrong with getting on the phone and calling BetterHelp. For the people out there, I mean that, and you go get help if you need it. And we all go through depression. We all go through some hard times.
So you talk about phone calls. Cut me off. Right? You talk about phone calls. Mm-hmm. BetterHelp, right?
Yeah.
So I get the phone calls, and Kevin, I'm sure you do.
I'm almost a doctor in therapy.
Yeah, I mean, people call us. Jim, I don't know about yourself personally.
Yeah. Last year, I had a friend of mine. I knew he was slipping. He wasn't a cop, but he was a dear, his name is Donnie Pizak. I love him. One of my greatest friends. But he was slipping away. Every day he'd call me. When I'm trying to say the right word, but he was getting compulsive about everything. I can't explain it, whether it was taking a ride, going to the store, reading the paper.
Right.
And he was in between jobs. And he always had a nice big job. He was a great man, a great dad. And I saw him slipping away, and I didn't know how to save him. I kept on saying, no, we got to get... And he was going for help, but it just... I think, and again, my understanding is that when you go for help, and it takes some time to find the right person who works for you.
Well, you got to find somebody that's in tune with you. But
Yes.
that's what I do now because I've been there. Like
So we were in Florida.
yeah.
Remember?
So, yeah,
And
your buddy.
Look
But
at me.
I was able to speak to him because I had been there. I had the gun in my mouth.
Right.
I had a Chief Special 38. I still have it.
Yeah.
And
still-
it's double action. So I cocked it, and once you cock it back, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
So these guys all went down that path, and it's easy for them to talk to me because they don't feel I'm talking men.
Right, yeah.
It's easy not to feel emasculated when you're speaking to somebody who understands and who's been there.
Right.
You know, just like with prison. So if you get somebody coming out of prison and you want to help them, they're going to talk to you because you guys have been there.
Yeah.
Cops will come and talk to
Find
us.
that common ground.
Yeah.
Someplace that
Yeah,
makes
you
Yeah.
go to
sense, you know,
an AA meeting if you want to stay sober, right? You don't go talk to a guy in a book. You go to an AA meeting. There's a bunch of guys in there that used to drink their whole life. Now they're sober.
And no one judges.
And no one judges you in there.
Right.
They've all done the same thing and worse.
Well, that's what you don't. You don't want to be judged.
Well, people think they're the only one going through it, and they're embarrassed, and oh my God, and
How do I handle
whether
it?
you're crying or whether, and we always say this, we all been through it. We all go through things. There's nothing wrong with reaching your hand out. Trust me, there's more people like it than you think. And you got parents. I was in jail with different guys that never broke the law in their life, never drank. There was one guy that never drank and didn't drink. He went to a party, he drank. He went down a one-way, and he killed a woman who was pregnant
Holy
and somebody else in the car. And he got 11 years. And he reached out to a good friend of mine who asked for me to speak to him. And I spoke to him. This is going back about 7 years ago. And I said to him, he came out. He was on bail. He was going back to jail. He was a very successful guy. He was in the Wall Street area. He was in a brokerage business, mortgage brokerage business, but, very big in it. And executive position. And I said to him, here's what you need to do, because he's asking me.
So he was a killer.
He became a killer, right? Now, he's a killer that was started, obviously, huge depression. He just had 2 young kids himself. I said, I'm going to give it to you straight if you want to talk. And he says, yeah. I said, okay. Whoever's promising your job back in 11 years, get that out of your mind. It's a fairy tale for you. So you're going to be somewhere else in 12 years when you're home. I said, your wife that you know, most likely she's going to leave you. Your kids, your relationship, you're going to see them when they're teenagers, and hopefully you can rekindle that. Jail itself, worry about how you're going to handle it, finances, because all your houses, everything's going to go.
Day to day.
And, so 7 years later, 6 years later, it's been about 7 years. Last year, I got messages from his good friend. His wife left him. The kids don't talk to him. He has no more money. His children go see his parents once a month only, and he hasn't seen them in years. So this is the reality of that
Standard
life.
operating procedure.
You want to, and he's very depressed. He wanted to kill himself because he's not a killer, and he said, "I can't deal with what I did to this woman and her baby." And I've said, "Well, there's only one way you can deal with it besides killing yourself: is face it." And how do you face it? When you're in prison every day, you have nothing else to do there. See a therapist in prison, read all day, pray if you're religious. If you're not, get religious, and try to write the family to apologize as much as you can. And I doubt anybody's going to accept it, but it'll help you. So that's the advice you can give somebody that became a killer that was never a killer. And, and it's not easy to kill somebody that you despise. Forget about an innocent person. So it's easy as a gangster to go out and kill somebody who wanted to kill me, or a business deal over money, but it's not easy if you drive in your car and you kill some child or person, because then I don't think I could deal with that either, that simply.
But John, the consequences are all the same. Whether in other words, that guy's going to do the same thing, went through the same process you guys went through, because he's a different kind of killer. He's still going to go through that 12 years and lose his wife, lose his home, lose his kids. Doesn't matter that he had a bad night, and we've all. If you tell me you never drank and drive back in the 70s and 80s, you're a fucking liar.
You're a liar.
I'm sorry for the cursing, but you're a liar. So we've all done
Don't
it.
you ever
And
fucking
you made a
curse
bad
again
night.
on this show.
Yeah, you had a bad night and you ran somebody over. I know, but for the grace of God, I hadn't run 100 people over. Because when you're a cop, you know that you can drink a little more and get away with it if you get pulled over.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, he has the same tragic circumstances that you went through, even though he had one bad night and you lived a bad life for 5 or 10 years or whatever the circumstances was. Doesn't matter. Like you said, this is what's going to happen to you. And then certainly, sure enough, sure as shit, lost your wife, lost your house, lost your kids, could have come out with not a nickel, and maybe a few friends, who your real friends are, will still be there when you get out.
Right.
Let's face it, John.
But that's not the consequence of all killers. So I was watching this story. A guy got his daughter taken. The guy took his daughter out to California and did all sorts of awful things that you don't even want to mention. They catch him. They extradite him. And I forget where they were extraditing him to. But as they're walking through the airport, it's a video of it, and you see somebody back on the payphone. That's how long ago it was. He's on a payphone, and as soon as they walk him through, the cameras are on him. The guy walks up and blows him away. He killed this guy that abducted his daughter.
Right.
To the best of my knowledge, and I'm pretty sure about this, he never received a day in jail.
Yeah.
So he was able to get out. Now, that guy who killed, you can call it a crime of passion. I don't think he has those same consequences. So it's different for every walk of life.
He doesn't have those same consequences as a father or as a parent or just an outsider that would kill because of those reasons. He's not going to have the consequences of guilt. He's going to have the consequences of knowing what happened to his child his whole life. He's going to have to deal with that, and that he's never going to get through that. That's going to eat at him day and night that he didn't protect her prior to that, even though it wasn't possible for him to protect. There's nobody that's possibly could walk their kids around day and night and protect them. But he's going to have to deal with the fact of what happened to his kid. And the guilt of that will definitely overcome or succumb the guilt of killing anybody like that. He ain't going to give two shits. He won't lose a wink of sleep, and I don't blame him. So, but the idea of dealing with such a terrible crime against his child, that he's going to deal with for the rest of his life.
That's a good
Can I
point.
ask you a quick question, just for my own knowledge, and I'll ask everybody. I know you've killed people, so did you rationalize this guy's a bad guy anyway?
Oh yeah, you have to rationalize because you have to deal with it.
Okay.
So and I'll
So
give you an
let's talk about
example.
the first one, then the 20th one. How does it get?
So here's
How does it progress? You're not a serial killer, right?
No, and people talk about that. Serial killers are seriously sociopathic. They have no feelings to anything. We try to justify to deal with why we're doing it. Just like a guy that goes to Afghanistan, like my friends. Because somebody but when somebody tells them you can kill them because they're on the opposite side as you, because that guy in Afghanistan, it might be a great guy too.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just a guy protecting, going to war because his country told him to go to war. He has kids, he has family, he has a wife, and you're taking his life like this because we said it's okay.
And if there wasn't a war, you might like each other.
Right.
Right.
No question.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of my best friends,
Same cloth.
and
Right
Cookie
on.
and
I've
these
seen
guys.
them. I've seen
These
them.
guys are straight killers. And my friend Cookie's been shot in the head and survived. His cousin was killed. They were my enemies growing up. We hated each other, and we became very close. So you're taking guys that we were trying to take each other's lives, and we understand it. We look at each other no different than an American that fought the Japanese and they were killing each other. And then the next day or the next year or 10 years, they shaking hands, have mutual respect. You go in a boxing ring, you fight. You hate the guy in the ring. As soon as the fight's over, you're hugging him and you're shaking his hand because that's what good sportsmanship does.
They did that in Gettysburg.
We did it in our
Like
life.
the old story.
So Gettysburg, they used to have an anniversary, and up until I think the last one was in the 20s, but they used to have an anniversary where the North and the South, and they would come and they'd meet on the battlefield and they'd have a little picnic and they'd shake each other's hands because again, it's nothing personal, and we may like each other outside of this war.
Right.
So I think it makes sense. That's an odd way to put it, and I've never thought about it that way. Being a gangster, being in one family, fighting another family, is in your mind no different than a soldier going to Afghanistan and U.S. versus Afghanistan.
Kev, I hated you guys growing up, right? Because I was taught to hate you.
What about Mike now?
I still hate him.
So I get that now.
So I was taught, right? And as I get older and as you get mature and then you become a man and you have a purpose with your life, I don't lie about it. I tell the truth to everybody. I says, you guys had it right. We had it wrong. And when people are talking against you guys, I'm the first guy being a street guy that's been in prison, been beat up by cops, been abused in different ways because I put myself in those situations. And I got to be honest and say, well, you guys all got it wrong. Everybody that's on the street, you want to call me anything because I'm talking pro-police? Well, go fuck yourselves because you are the same people that call the police when they bother your neighbor bothers you, or your mother's walking down the street, or somebody's robbing them, or somebody's getting raped, or somebody's a domestic dispute. They're not calling my number. They're calling 911. They're not calling their brother's number. They're calling 911. So when I hear people talking against the whatever, NYPD or any other police department, Those are the guys that are putting on their uniform every day that you guys are talking about taking their lives because of the depression of some of this, because some of that is causing that. That's part of it. They're making them the villain when they were the good guys. And I'm not saying every cop that walks the beat or puts on a uniform is a good guy, because there's always a certain amount of people that are doing the wrong thing. But overall,
there's a dick in every crowd.
yeah, but overall,
30,000 cops, you're going to have a
Yeah.
1,000 jerk-offs.
Yeah.
Just face it.
but overall, the problem isn't, and again, it isn't the police, it's the politicians. And when people wake up to the fact that it's the politicians pushing everybody's buttons, causing the division, with the racial division, equity division, or just what I just said Eric Adams is doing. You're a black man that's selling out the black community. And I'll be very verbal because everybody knows I'm not shy. He just stepped in the job and he became a politician like this. Instead of worrying about his community, he's not. He's leaving those police off their job when they deserve their jobs back. Give them their fucking jobs back.
Well, there should always be I always said as a cop, and maybe you guys can chime in on this one, that chiefs and higher ups, commissioners for you guys, they should only hold that position for about 5 years, because after about 5 years, give or take, something happens to them. They become politicized, and it's more about keeping their job than the job that they picked. They forget where they came from very quick. Eric Adams forgot where he came from.
Yeah, well,
It's power. It's nothing about power.
He's been in for a month. He's called himself a hero already.
Yeah, I know.
What are you a hero for? Because I know one thing. I know, Michael, back me up on
I
this.
know him.
He was in internal affairs
Yeah.
as a cop, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, captain.
Yeah.
And I heard he's got skeletons in his closet
Yeah,
that
well,
go pile up to the ceiling.
I-
and they're going to come out.
I
Listen,
go-
you know the old story. You rob a bank, you rob it alone.
Just gave his brother a sweetheart job.
Yeah.
But how about that black woman that's on TV, or a Spanish girl that was on TV screaming, "I want my job back, my kids got no food"? How about them? He forgot about them? They're the same people that wore that uniform and risked their lives.
The 7-7, the 7-9, the 7-3,
7-5.
7-5, the 8-1. He was involved with the 100-man black officers program. He divided the whole Brooklyn North in half. He began to have private.
He's going to get in trouble. I don't see
this
it
was-
lasting.
They had a whole organization of, and listen, I was an organization of but mostly white guys. We did what we did, and I've been renowned for it, and I pay my price for it. You know, I went to prison.
But you own it, Mike. There's the difference. You own it.
Yeah,
How many years
there's
did
a
you
whole
do in
band-
jail?
14. There's a whole band.
So you did your time.
There's a whole band of guys that got away with it right after me. Not after me, but they were doing it while I was doing it, and it was in the 7-7, 7-9, 7-1.
30, the 30th precinct had the dirty
The
30.
3-0 they got, but there's a
I
whole
know.
band. There's a whole band in Brooklyn North that got away with it.
Yep.
Okay, and they were all together, and they were all involved in the 100-man,
Yep.
100-man black.
Well, we got to call Serpico and we
No,
got
it's
to
a
find
fact.
out.
It's
No,
a
I'm
fact.
joking.
And what happened
Is
was
he still
they
alive?
squashed it.
Yeah.
They squashed it because they didn't want another major scandal. But I was the right height for the.
You got the role.
I got the poster boy picture for it, and then they cleaned it out. Supposedly.
Jimmy, let me ask you a question. I need to cut him off. What's the mentality, do you think, of a serial killer?
You know, I'll tell you the one, I didn't study a lot of it, but there was one guy that fascinated me. And that's, you ever see the show, there's a documentary about the Green River.
The Green River guy, Oregon,
Green River killer.
Washington.
This cat killed 88 people that they know of.
That they know of.
They think he did twice that amount.
Yeah.
He was, and again, going to Mike's story, his point. A sharp guy in the sense that he's killing people that no one cares about. No one's going to miss. If you're a girl, heroin addict, walking the streets, and you disappear, she probably OD'd. Some guy probably killed her while he took her on a date, right?
Right.
So he's getting people that are ghosts in this world. No one gives a shit. It might be 6 months before they realize she's even missing or make note of it, because she's got a history of disappearing. Not getting arrested for prostitution, whatever. So going away for 3 months. They don't do years. They do a 6 months tops.
Right.
So that nobody really, and basically by this time the family's given up on her. They said, we can't help her. She's out. So nobody's looking for her. This guy remembers 88 of the people he kills. They think he did double that. And again, he's bringing them home to his bedroom where he sleeps with his wife at nighttime, having sexual thing, strangling the shit out of him, which is a very, again, as you know, to strangle someone is the most personal thing in the world.
Yeah.
Then to stab, then to, there's different
I
things.
love getting strangled, though. It's
Strangling
really-
is, you're getting in there because you're seeing them lose their last
It's really
breath.
fun.
Woof. But again, that's a person whose entire what do you call it? He gets off on just what makes him go.
Well, that was
Makes him go.
Kuklinski. So Kuklinski,
Oh, yeah.
and with Kuklinski, there's a guy named Bobby Carroll who prosecuted Kuklinski, and Kuklinski was saying he was doing stuff for Roy DeMeo. And
the Iceman.
Yeah, the Iceman.
Yeah.
So this guy Bobby Carroll prosecuted him. So I would see him all over, and Bobby would walk at like 2:00 in the morning. When I was working midnights, I always stopped him and just picked his brain because I wanted to know. And he said the guy killed a lot of people, but he didn't kill as many as he said he killed because he did it for prison cred. You know, he wanted to have that reputation in prison. But the whole thing where he just was looking for a reason to tell everybody why he killed, and it wasn't the real reason. The real reason he killed was because he got off on it. There's reasons behind it. He was horribly abused as a child. There was lots of. His brother Joseph threw some 14-year-old girl off a building in Jersey City after he raped her and spent his whole time in prison. Subsequently, in prison in New Jersey State Prison, he would get raped so much that he'd have to go to the infirmary to get his asshole sewed up. Yeah. They never spoke. They were in the same prison. They never spoke. Right. But so there's a serial killer. There's a different, and even with the Green River killer, there's something broken inside of them. I don't think the normal killer, even gangsters, there's not something broken inside them. They know the difference between right and wrong.
They can function in society properly.
Well,
the phone call comes.
Well, they'll ask about a terrorist, right? A terrorist kills not for money. It's not monetary.
Indiscriminately.
It's indiscriminately because of hate, because of religion, or whatever their idealism is, right? Whatever the cause. A gangster that's out shooting and killing is for position and money within the family. Some are a little. Some of them.
It's a business approach.
Well, you could take a guy like Roy DeMeo, because he brought up Roy DeMeo, is, he's dismembering bodies. Do I think there's something off with that? Obviously, yes. Because dismembering bodies, when people say, well, he was getting rid of the body. Well, you could get rid of a body, the whole body. He doesn't have to piece it up like that and tear it apart. I think he enjoyed it for some sick reason. So, there's ways to do it in acid. There's ways to bury him. There's ways to, bring him into the ocean. You could get rid of bodies and incinerate them. You don't have to do what he was doing. So I think he falls a little bit on the, when somebody's, when someone's reading books on dismembering, there's something off on them. It's not to what a normal guy does in the mob world, killing.
Now, would he be a serial killer within the
I think if I had to guess, he's a serial killer.
And also in the mob.
Yeah, and I believe the same on Tommy Karate. These are the guys that when you're reading these books about dismembering, there's something mentally off with them. It has nothing to do with taking someone's life for the reasons we take it, whether they're trying to kill our boss, whether they're trying to kill ourselves.
Well, you went to kill Tommy Karate, right?
I wanted to kill him, yeah. John Jr. was actually with me on that. And
you shit his pants?
He didn't know we were sitting across the street from where he was looking for us. He came with a couple of guys, and we were sitting in a car. We had a 9mm machine gun, and John said, my father will kill us if we kill him right now, because it was over drugs.
Oh, okay.
And so we ended up not doing it. I wanted to do it, but...
Did he come after you?
He killed one of my friends, I believe, so we went hunting him,
After that?
After that.
So more than once?
Yeah.
But you actually had to get permission to go kill.
Well, in a mob, you're supposed to. I mean, you could do it in sneak, and if it's the wrong guy, you're going to get killed for it too. And if it's a made guy, it gets done all the time. You got guys like I just brought up.
Let's see if Junior tells on you.
Yeah, and he'll tell on me. he wasn't holding his mud.
And I don't know that he does.
Well, he listen.
Would he tell on you?
Yes. He shot, listen, Ciro's nephew got shot in the ass from behind me, and it was him, and he let me hold the weight for it when it wasn't. I mean, there's a million incidents like that. He blamed me. So even when it wasn't me, but
yet you were never at the Ravenite, according to him.
Well,
according to him,
those videos that everybody put up, that's not me. That's a clone of me. And Jimmy knows, as Jimmy has involvement with me in the past and ran into us
professionally.
When he was on the job.
When he was on the job, so he was in a professional manner, and you were in a professional manner.
So but what's funny is that those points are important. It's important is these guys don't do what everybody believes they do. And again, Jimmy knows more than a lot of guys.
You saw him out in the street?
So,
I know. We were...
Was it the Coney Island incident?
No. We had I think you remember this.
Yeah.
We had a guy who was working. He was a cop. He works... he's in the reserves. So he goes once a month to the Army. 5 o'clock in the morning, he's leaving for his thing, his reserve duty. This wannabe cat over there in Ozone Park shoots him in the driveway, robs him, doesn't know he's a cop. We stop buying into the neighborhood.
Yep.
Now we open up, my friend David, it starts getting deep. He's buying kilos. I started to buy. I passed off to David. David was driving up. He purported to be a drug dealer in Long Island. He opens his own little joint on, what's that, the big Cross Bay Boulevard.
Liberty
Cross Bay.
Now the gangsters are coming, and they're gonna get him in. And they said, "We need you to do a piece of work." Exact words they said from us, and that's I said I never heard that term before.
Right.
He uses it all the time.
Hey, you're gonna have to do a piece of work for us.
No, he calls you a piece of work.
I am a piece of work.
Yes,
That's
you
when
are.
we had to shut it down, but they brought up that they arrested the guy. This guy got the hardest smell in the police department for doing all undercover work, but it was heavy. I mean, and this was a 2-year undercover, heavy duty, safe houses, the whole shit when it was going on. That doesn't happen a lot in PD.
No, that's
They
big.
They
That's-
start
that's
testing
deep.
off to the feds and stuff like
Right,
that.
that's
So
deep. That's
that's what it was over there in Ozone Park, right off Liberty, Cross Bay Boulevard.
Right, 101st Ave,
What's the other
101?
joint over there?
Yeah.
Not where Gotti lives. What's that town?
Oh, Howard Beach.
Howard Beach. So all that little area, and that's heavily mobbed
Yeah.
up, is where the whole thing was going down.
But the thing is, a lot of these guys, and we talked about this on another show. You weren't on that show,
Of
I don't
course
think.
not.
Yeah, you were traveling again. You were traveling the world.
Yeah, I don't.
But we were talking about,
Limited budget. I mean, limited
baseball cards and football cards. They give stats.
Yeah.
Most of these guys have no stats. It's 0, on their stats.
Right.
And they have people believe they're guys out there shooting like legitimate shooters, whether they're police officers or vets in the Army, like I said, like my friends in the Marines, Brian and these guys in JD, or, guys that happen to see action even though they didn't want to see it, protecting their families. So it's not what people really think. And I think that they're far removed from really what's going on, what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Even though people wouldn't understand that, because you're talking about guys that been around it and are serious guys, not guys watching TV or hanging with guys that, did some work. So, when a lot of these guys I'm doing, I call them out as frauds, that. Everybody knows what I feel about these guys because they're not doing anything positive. And, when we're talking about some of these situations of so many people that are involved, unfortunately, in shootings and murder and suicide, this is the stuff that carries from it because of the shitty life and the exposure to the streets.
Well, it's still the same in military and police world. So police, they'll tell war stories. How many war stories?
I was just gonna say-
How many war stories I've told them. Listen, I'm guilty of this too, but vets will do it and they call it stolen valor.
Oh,
He's sleeping. They call it stolen valor, where they'll live on a myth that I was a Green Beret, I was this, and they'll get something for it. They just had a guy out not too far away from here got a bunch of charities donated to him, and his whole story was bullshit. That's
Because the guys that are real, and I'll use JD now because JD was a serious sniper and involved, and he's a good guy and a family guy, cool dudes, tattooing. He's just a down-to-earth cat. Just so you said, we go out, we hang out. Brian, we're all drinking. Stevie, these guys are just, because they've been there, they've done it.
How many times you've been out, all of us, right? And here's some guy at the fucking bar
Yeah.
telling your story.
Yeah.
I'm going,
I've had that.
I'm going like this.
What?
I've never seen this cat. That sounds very similar to the shit that I just did. Let's go. Yeah. And he heard it from somebody else, and I'd go over.
We ran into somebody.
I'm sure with you.
We ran into somebody, and both of you know him, who used to tell war stories about being a member, a street guy.
Yeah.
All right. Knew
That'll
Joey
get back.
Merlino and yeah.
Oh, you don't
Where-
want to get into that's a whole new show, isn't it?
there's some stuff to that.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to say, and I might as well talk about it. So when you got Tommy and the guy we tried to get involved with him a little, but he,
With the MSCS thing?
with MSCS, and he started using our names and doing different things. But he was a guy that cooperated on his case. His real name was actually, I think he uses the name Keeler or something.
Kitely.
Kitely.
Kegels.
His real name's Messina.
Isn't he a Kegel?
He did a couple of months in a joint, and he was, a gopher. He sat at the table. Joey didn't know who he was. He sat at the table. He got trays for guys and, different things. And then he told stories that he was, and people don't know or they don't question.
Right.
So they don't know. So now he's connecting
made guy.
himself
He was a made
as
guy.
he was a made
button
guy,
man,
and he told war stories. And then he tried to bring in different guys to do shows with him to surround himself like he's a legitimate guy.
The problem was he was talking about the Philly mob, and that's where I grew up.
Well,
so.
and he's broke, and you got guys like Turch that grew up with me, and people that know that he was never around, and other guys that were in prison with us that still talk to me that know he was never around, and you got guys when he's telling them he got shot, and which is a lie, So you got too many guys that know, you can't fake your way through the
That's
street.
a no-no. I'm just telling you, being a street guy, a cop, or a gangster.
Yeah.
Pretending you're a gangster and throwing those names around,
that's not
boy,
good.
that's
That's
a
not
no-no.
good.
I just know from being a
So,
street guy and a cop.
he moved his studio in what is that, Fort Worth? That we were at? Fort Worth. And,
Lake Worth.
Lake Worth.
West Palm.
Lake Worth. And so now the gig is up that everybody knows, and that's where he's at. And so now he's paranoid because of all his lies. They catch up. And, he tried to utilize our names as the headliners. And, so, we got involved.
Karma's a bitch.
Yeah, karma is a bitch.
So I'm in the 7-5. I'll give you a 7-5 story. And I'm working with Urel. And we're doing an action report. There's a hooker talking to me. and Kenny's doing the action report, which of course he doesn't want to do, but he's got to do it. So Green Eyes is talking to me over here. He's doing a report, and there's a guy in front of us. I don't even say because I'm talking to Green Eyes.
Right.
But he's doing a report, so he can see in front of him because he's looking up and down. And there's a guy with a gun pointed at somebody's basically head. So he goes to me, "Don't look up, just put the car in park and pull away." So I go, "What do you mean, don't look up?" He goes, "I got Green Eyes over here next to me, right? She's telling me that she's going to quit hooking." And Kenny's doing his paper. And I'm like, "What do you mean? You got cars, you can accident." He goes, just do what I'm telling you. I go, "Why?" He goes, "There's a guy pointing a gun at someone over there, and we got to get out of here." Now, instead of saying, we got to get, hit the siren, call 911, go for backup, shoot the guy. He's letting this guy point the gun at somebody. So I go, "I can't pull away now." So a girl across the street. Now, this is how aware the ghetto is. Don't ever forget this. The girl across the street sees me turn my head away because I'm just reacting to my partner, right? We're just reacting to reach off each other. I put the car in park and I start to drive in a direction that would be indicated I'm getting the fuck out of here. And she goes, "Officer, I see you turn your head." This bitch was calling me out from across the street on New Lots Avenue, where New Lots and Dumont merge.
My favorite place.
It comes right like this. I'm like, "Oh shit! Now I'm in trouble.
what do I do?
I'm in trouble from her, So I go, "Fuck!" So I go, "Kenny, we gotta do something. The guy gets killed in front of us. We drove away. This isn't the way to handle this job." All right. He puts the pen in his fucking in his memo book, and all right, let's go. So we pull up. And we're like, "Guys, can't you see the police here? Can you stop trying to kill each other? I mean, this would be a convenient."
But it was the 7-5.
Yeah, this would be a convenient time to put your gun away. So
It was the Wild West. I
so
swear to God.
I hit the brakes, and of course, you're doing 3 things, 4 things at once. I'm driving, hitting the brakes, putting the car, I think, in park, getting my gun out. My gun's out. I'm in the car. The gun's out. I open the door, gun out. I'm coming over the door. Yeah, I'm putting myself between the door and the front of the car and I forget to put the car in park. The car takes off. I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Now I got one leg in, one leg out because I'm over the side of the car like this. Now I jump back in, hit the car, bing. Now the car's going down New Lots Avenue back and forth as it's in park. Bing, 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 bing. Kenny comes out around the other side. I come out. So anyway, I'm squeezing the trigger. This is the time that we talked about. You kill somebody, I'm squeezing the trigger. The trigger's coming back. You probably heard this tell a story before. I'm squeezing the trigger. The trigger's coming back. I'm going to kill this guy. Drop the gun, motherfucker. Drop the gun, motherfucker. And he goes, "I'm on the job." Now, this guy looked like they dragged him out of the woods, okay? He's got a paper-thin leather jacket on, Hispanic looking, with a grizzly-looking beard. So he's got a 125-pound crackhead. That's what I'm saying. Crackhead bullshit, you're on the job. But you know how to say I'm on the job to stay alive. He goes like this, he opens up his leather coat. He's got something hanging there. It looked like it might have been a badge. You're not seeing everything clear. I'm looking for hands and guns, right? You're looking for hands and guns.
Say first.
And direction, right? So long story, as it breaks down, so I stop squeezing. Because I'm going to kill this guy because he's going to kill somebody else, right? You got to stop the guy from killing someone. If he didn't listen, didn't drop the gun, didn't none. So I'm squeezing. I'm killing him. And then he flips. So I ease up. And the hand's moving, by the way. It's fucking moving. So you know how close it is. I let go. And I'm like, oh God, if this goes off now. And then he goes, I'm on the job. All right, we'll give you another. He bought himself 3-4 seconds. He was able to get me to release from shooting him. And so in between, Kenny jumps in between him and the guy, because the guy finally jumps. He finally throws, that's not accurate. He places, instead of throwing his gun on the floor, he places it down. So now you know he's a cop.
Right.
Because he ain't throwing that fucking brand new 9mm on the floor, 380,
Absolutely.
whatever it is. And he wants to keep it near him, not near the perp, right? But he did drop the gun, which, you know.
All the things that tell you he's a cop.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
so many things happening, and I'm trying to read it. Okay, yeah, you're definitely not a cop. He didn't throw his gun, you know, all this other shit. So we get, and the guy, he's got the gun pointed on him, jumps the cop and starts beating the fuck out of him.
Oh, God.
That's okay.
Now imagine what that would have felt like for you.
Oh.
If you would have actually pulled that trigger, and you would have, realistically, you would have been justified in doing what you would have done.
That I was patient.
Right.
See, I'm long suffering. I'm very patient.
But think about what would have happened, and you just killed another cop,
Of course.
and you've turned
Especially
into an
me.
accidental killer.
Especially me. You know, they've been like, oh, this is, and he's killed a narcotics undercover.
It was an
cop.
accident.
Oh, yeah, Dowd accidentally killed him. Okay, so one step further, what we was talking about before, the storytelling. 2 years later, a year and a half later, I'm in the Whitestone Pound vouchering cars because I'm now going through the farm, right? And this guy comes walking in. And says, yeah, I just left Rodman's Neck. And in Rodman's Neck, they discuss all the potential incidents and shootings and confrontations and undercover goes in the shit.
Learning lessons.
The lessons. So this guy comes in and says, you're not going to believe the story I heard today about a cop who almost killed, this cop was fucking out of his mind. He almost killed an undercover cop for no good reason. And I said, oh yeah, where? In East New York, where? The 7-5. He don't know. I'm in the Whitestone Pound. That is, he don't know the fuck I am.
Well, he's right about some things. He's out of his mind.
Yeah, but,
He was a cop.
so he goes, I go, yeah, what was his name? What did he look like? Was he a Spanish guy? Yeah. He was telling, I said, that motherfucker's lucky he's alive. So walking in on people telling stories where you are, it happened to me. And exactly.
And we all know this one thing. When that shit's going down,
No, this wasn't.
everything's going a million miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know that. At that time.
So if I was
Shit is
whacked
the
out,
fan.
if I was whacked out, drunk or high on that at that moment, I probably would have killed the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, you're around. You ever been in a shooting and then everybody else starts just fucking letting rounds go? All of a sudden, there's 75 rounds went off.
That happened to my partner Mike. Mike Felice.
Right, exactly.
So he was in a shooting in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, and there was another.
You pick up the bat.
I know. I saw you get scared.
This was just a reaction. It wasn't. He didn't do anything wrong, actually.
So there was another agency that showed up about 3 seconds after the shooting had ceased and just blows off shotgun rounds into the back of the car. Because, adrenaline's up. They want to be involved in
now,
something.
oh, in a
Do they
shoot,
understand
really?
that what would happen if that happened?
They don't, because unless you're involved in a shootout or shooting, right? And you
One
have
time.
that adrenaline tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Because things are happening clearly, actually, but quickly. So you're assessing things in a very quick manner, and people that never been in a shooting, they're going to bullshit. And somebody who's been involved in shootings, no one that bullshit because we've been there. So, what guys are saying, it's not just to shoot somebody's, for me in my situations over the years, becomes easy because you're kind of trained to it. Getting in the actual shootout and into a situation is a different thing, and you have to be accustomed to that too, to be able to do what John Tigg, I had him on from Benghazi, unbelievable guy, and he was talking about not wasting his ammo. And how many bullets he shot, and we were talking about it, and it was amazing because your adrenaline is controlled and your fear is controlled into a positive.
Right.
When somebody, and you watch these movies and they panic and they're just shooting that's how they're spraying. And, in real life, that's how they're spraying and killing innocent people.
That's how the hood are doing it.
Yeah.
So you brought it up earlier in the conversation when you broke the conversation out. And this is how you reacted, and this is guys that are trained or have been, I wouldn't say the first time, but after several times, and for example, for me and my personal experience, and you, I know, because you described it perfectly when you said to the officer, just calm down, take your gun away from my head, because you might accidentally shoot me right now. Now, who would say
Nobody.
that?
Nobody.
Somebody who's been there.
Someone who's been
Nobody.
there.
Well,
that's
Or trained.
Or trained.
let me tell you something.
Being there, overtraining is being there.
Last year I was in Philadelphia and I'm walking to meet the doctor. Actually, we should have brought it up when he was on the show. And I was walking with two people. And one was a girl, one was a guy. And there was gunshots started going off. There happened to be a uniformed cop on the corner. He never been involved in a shooting. Because soon everybody started running. I stopped the people and I go, wait. You know, because they started to run too. I go, wait. Yep. And then I told the cop. And they looked at me like, and I told the cop, whoa. You know, I stopped him. Because he was reacting before he knew how many shooters there were, where the gunshots were coming from, and what direction. Yep. And they said to me after, you were the only one who didn't run and panic. I says, because you don't know what's happening. You don't know if there's multiple shooters coming from this side, that side, the corner. Look and assess it first, then react.
And again, you're one in a million that can do that. There's really most people. Am I right? Even guys who run a job in heavy houses and shit, they're not used to that. Yeah. They won't react that way. They'll react wrongly. But unless you pound it into your head, training every day, like SEALs, like
it's like a boxer.
All those guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like a boxer. He gets punched in the face. He's used to it. Yep. But there was a great movie called Higher Learning. It was a John Singleton movie years and years and years ago. And there was these skinheads, and they wanted to kill this. He wanted to go out and one of the young guys they recruited wanted to go out and kill somebody. So the older skinhead's talking to him. It's a real powerful scene. He says, "You ever shoot any?" The kid's name was Remy. I'll never forget. He goes, "You ever shoot anything, Remy?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Did you ever shoot an animal?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "Did you ever shoot a piece of meat?" Well, go out and put a piece of meat up and shoot it and see what that bullet does to the meat, and then you'll know. And then you're going to know if you're able to be a killer. Yeah. And that's I always thought that was a real powerful scene.
Yeah. I had something to say, but I forgot what it was.
Well, you got to be trained. I mean, the guy that taught me how to shoot was actually ex-SWAT from Florida. I used to go to shooting range, and he taught me to, and he knew what I was using a gun for, and he taught me. Well, listen. You think as a kid you're fooling them, but you didn't because he started to know me and he got friendly with me and he started telling me. You know, when someone's a moving target, he's explaining to me, how to hold myself, how to stand, the kick of a gun, the different types of gun I would want to use and different things. And that's part of the training of being able to understand it and respect the weapon. So you use it properly too. And that's all that training is like anything else. You have to be trained for the situation. If you're not trained, you're never going to learn. Yeah. And you're going to do stupid things at the same time.
A ball player sees a ball at 100 miles an hour, right? Baseball player sees a ball at 100 miles an hour. You and I standing out there, we won't even see the ball come at us.
You're right.
But when you train to see things, so when I was a cop, and you'll can attest to this, and probably yourself as well, in 7.5, you see things more clearly and slower.
Yes.
Because you're accustomed to seeing things that others don't. I know where your hands are going. I know what that looks like to me. It slows down.
Yes, that's what happened to me.
It slows the fuck down. And I can attest to that from my experiences because you're talking about a guy who was I was an active cop. I didn't make a lot of arrests, but I was active. I was mostly looking to take your money and your drugs. But in East New York, that's every corner. Yep. And it's ongoing and it's constant.
Well, my friends knew you good, TT. You remember? Yeah. A friend of mine, he's from the hood. He grew up there. He's a friend of mine. He actually did a chapter or two in my book, The Mafia International. He called me, and while he calls me, he's talking to me about him, but he doesn't know he's in the car with me. Yeah. And they started, and I said, Mike's in the car with me now. And they're kicking back and forth all the guys and friends and guys he robbed in the neighborhood. Yeah, because he knew all the guys. He was a big mover himself at the time. Yeah. So, and you guys...
he knew everybody.
Just to bring it home, like there's many different reasons why people kill.
Right.
And some of them there's reasons behind why even a serial killer has a reason why they killed. And it's hard to understand and it's hard to grasp, but I think the normal person has to understand that there are reasons behind every killing. Everything. Whether it's good, right, wrong, or indifferent. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And it certainly is. I'll leave this on one thing. Everybody's going to... Unfortunately, today, I think we're going to have a problem, and that's this. Because the police are no longer putting guys away. Now, they just had a statistic. 68% of all people arrested for violent crimes have been arrested before.
Oh, yeah.
That's a large number,
Right.
over recidivists. What I'm just trying to say is, guys are going to start going regular, we'll call them civilians, are home now, buying guns and illegally possessing them.
Right.
And if you're going to come to their house, they're not depending on the cops anymore. They said the bad guys aren't going away and it's becoming a mess.
Right.
They're going to start taking care of business themselves.
Well, Jimmy, more so than that, you have a border that's open. By next year, you have over 3 million people that walked in this country unvetted. No names, fake names, killers, serious guys. And you have a very small percentage that are coming to this country that are kids and women are looking to live a legitimate life. And that's all thanks to this administration and their bullshit. And they want the chaos because they're trying to redevelop this country into something that we don't know. So the people that are on the Democratic or Republicans or Independents, everybody at this point I think see what they're trying to do. They're trying to uproot this country into some sort of socialist society and make the government more dependent in your lives.
Well, they'll be trying to
So
take
this is a plan. This is a
Guns
plan.
away. They're trying to take the guns away.
Well, you're not going to take the
Every
guns
chance
away
they
when they're
get,
coming in.
trying.
No, they're trying to take the legal guns away.
Right.
The illegal guns are walking into this country, and that's the ones committing the crimes, not the legal guns. That's propaganda by this administration telling people that people are dying from legal guns in this country.
Yeah.
That is nowhere near the truth.
And you know what, last but not least, I'll just say this. We're seeing what's going on in Ukraine. Yeah, thank God some guys got some guns at home, because if God forbid that ever happened in this country, and I don't think it's a whole different situation, but if someone invaded this country, you got some nut...
We got them invading this country. You're in the White House right now.
Well, I'm saying that.
Yeah,
least you could pick
without
up
a
your gun
shot
and defend
fired,
yourself.
they invaded
The
us.
invaders were out of
If they were
shot.
all armed over there, the Ukrainians, like they should have been, maybe they'd have a better chance.
Our politicians invested, all of them, in
Oil.
electric. And the electric and the Congo and Hunter Biden. That's why they don't want these gas. They want these gas prices to be exuberant amounts that the average day person in our neighborhoods, whether they're black or brown, because they talk about them, they manipulate these people in my neighborhood. They con them, and they know that they can't pay these prices, so they're going to force their hand to go into electric somewhere down the line because they invested all their government money. All our politicians invested in this. So this is not for the benefit of anybody that grew up in our neighborhoods, in my neighborhood, because we can't afford these prices, and
I
they
can't
know
afford
that.
140. I can't even afford 1,400 for a car.
You know,
They cost $60,000.
We could talk about. I mean, we could go on and on about this for probably 10 more shows.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think we're out of time.
Well, we're going to talk on the next show or two about government killing. And
But like
everybody watch it for that show.
Don't forget to subscribe and like John Alite, The Mob, The Mafia, and The Man. And we got our brand new sunglasses here, the limited Elite special by Private Eyewear.
Nice glasses.
Yeah, they are.
They're heavy.
Make sure we visit johnelite.com for baseball bats. Where can we find the special edition Michael Dowd bat?
Michael, no, that's just for me. Sorry, everybody. That's just to control Mike, the wild horse. Everybody said, how do we control him?
Wasting your time.
The Mike Dowd on Instagram, of course, the Alite Show. I'm with them. We're doing well together, and I think if John will have me on, I'll continue forward.
Thank you guys for having me.
Jim,
You
thanks
guys
for coming.
had-
Hey, Jim, really, thanks for having me
Pleasure.
on.
It's been a
And
nice
a
weekend.
surprise, though, by the way, guys.
He's a surprise guest.
Short notice, just showed up, and we threw him on.
Great expert in this field, and it was really nice to have you on with us and to get your intake on some of this. You know better than most. You were out there risking your life every day, and thank you for that. Everybody, True John Alite on Instagram, my website, johnalite.com. Bats, books, photos, any shows we're doing, any upcoming talks. It will be
One
stayed
thing I
in.
want to put out there that you and I have been invited, but you mentioned it earlier. I didn't get a chance. You and I have been invited to go to San Diego to speak before a fallen officers organization that they do in California.
It's fantastic.
Again, everybody, pro-police, pro-America, pro-vets. God bless America. Stay tuned. Hit the subscribe. See you next week.